Good evening. Welcome in. This is The Spread. I am Cameron Tarrant. Got SoCon John Hooper with me. As always, SoCon John here on the phone. SoCon John, man, how's it been? How's your Thanksgiving?
It was really good. Ate more than I should have, and like most of us.
Yeah, I understand.
You kind of invent like leftover dishes. The turkey sandwich with gravy is always good.
Yes, agree.
But yeah, I almost think that like sometimes the leftovers are better than like when you first eat Thanksgiving, if that makes any sense. And then you just get tired of it.
Yeah, no, yeah, that I get that. That's a true statement.
Like on Sunday, you're just like, I think I'm done with Thanksgiving by now.
Yes. But hey, gotta have a great show tonight, John. We're gonna talk a little college hoops tonight. College basketball season now well underway. It got started last week. We'll kind of go over that. Of course, we'll talk college football coming up as well. We are live tonight on the Podbean app as always. Also going live on YouTube tonight as well, so you can check out both of those places for the show tonight. All right, John, college hoops, man. You were at the Furman Southern Wesleyan basketball game last night. My alma mater, old Swoog. Actually, not that bad. They're actually pretty good now. I mean, they were not very good when I was a student there, but they've gotten a lot better. And
yeah, they're a lot better than when you were a student.
And, hung tough against Furman last night a little bit early on. And then, obviously, Furman pulled away late. But, man, I tell you what, dude, the Paladins, I honestly think are going to be the team to beat in that league.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people were saying, UNC, and it may still turn out to be UNC Greensboro, but I just don't see how they're 5 more talented starters in that conference than what Furman's got. And what, the thing about them this year is they're just deep. I mean, that they're, 7, 8 deep off the bench, maybe 9.
Mm-hmm.
I think 9 is what he's hoping to play this year. Whereas in previous years, they've only gone about 7, 8 at the most deep. So you have that 9th player that can score. That makes you pretty versatile. And really, like last night, the game, I looked at it with 4.5 minutes to go in the first half. It was a 1-point game. And then Furman ends the half on a 13-3 run. 9 of those points are scored by one player, Mike Bothwell. So he kind of said, okay, I'm taking this game over, which tends to happen in basketball some. And Furman obviously disappointed by the fact that they won't be able to play Richmond, who had beaten Kentucky and was ranked 19th in the country because of COVID. But they still get, I think, a pretty good opponent in College of Charleston out of it, which that'll be an intriguing game, having not played since the 2014-15 season, to give you an idea of how much Furman has changed in basketball. The last time Furman played College of Charleston at Timmons Arena, Furman lost like 72-41.
Wow.
So Furman will probably be favored in this game, which, and in 5 years, I guess a lot can change. But
absolutely. Yeah, that's crazy stat. Yeah, I was really kind of looking forward to that Richmond game, but unfortunately that game getting canceled. Furman picking up College of Charleston this weekend. This Furman team already with wins. They beat Tusculum, beat South Carolina Upstate, then Southern Wesleyan last night. But they've got some big games ahead of them, though. I mean, they got a pretty good Cincinnati team. Alabama's very good. Winthrop, who just knocked off UNC Greensboro, who was picked to be the favorite of the conference this year.
Yeah, so really attractive schedule once you get, and even like Coach Ricci said, even the non-Division I opponents They play with Tusculum. They had a Division I opponent turn them down, and then SWU had a couple turn them down to play. So that gives you an idea of, there's some pretty good basketball teams, even that aren't Division I, evidenced by SWU beating USC Upstate. I think it's a perfect example of, what you can get. And like I said, if SWU hits their threes in that game, and Furman did a pretty good job of defending them, but normally they're a very good shooting team.
It'd be interesting. I'm excited to see how Furman goes out from here, but we both think that the Paladins are going to be probably the best team in that conference this year. I know they came in second. They were ranked second behind Greensboro in the preseason coaches poll, but after
I'm going to shock you here too. I'm going to tell you, Brad Brownell may have as good a team as he's had since that Sweet 16 team.
Yeah, and that's a good transition because I wanted to talk about this Clemson team. Furman's very good, but man, this Clemson team, I told you today at lunch, I think this Clemson basketball team has the chance to be one of the best Clemson teams in recent history.
Yeah, and I think, the two games I watched most of the Purdue game. Purdue made a little run, and I'm like, they might be getting back in the game, and hopefully Clemson won't let them come back and win. But Clemson, to their credit, responded by a run of their own. And, I thought it really showed some grit, down the stretch in that game to kind of close it out, which they haven't had in the previous couple of seasons. But boy, they've done. Sims, I think, is one of the best big men in the ACC, and we all know how good PJ Hall is. From Dorman, one of the top recruits in Clemson history, number one player in the state of South Carolina. Yeah. There's a lot to be excited about for Clemson fans after football season. So I think that, a lot of, maybe the word will get out, hopefully, and they'll have some, when they start letting fans maybe come back to games, hopefully the response will be good.
Yeah, and you mentioned the Purdue game, which I thought that was just phenomenal. The way Purdue, that's a good
7-4.
That's a good. That's a good Purdue basketball team, and to win. It was a pretty solid. It was a double-digit win by the Tigers there, 81-70. But what was more impressive to me was the win before that with Mississippi State, when they weren't playing all that great offensively, and they found a way to win in a very low-scoring defensive battle with Mississippi State, the game right before that. So Clemson all around, and we've talked about it, this has got to be Brad Brownell's deepest team he's ever had at Clemson. A lot of times Clemson will have great players, but they don't have a lot of depth on the bench. They've got that this year. They've got guys that can come off the bench and be just as productive as some of the guys, some of the starters like Sims.
Yeah, they do, and like I said, Brownell's done a tremendous job of recruiting, and we were talking about PJ Hall earlier today to get him to stay in state. The number one recruit. When you think back, who was a kid from Murray State a couple years ago from he was the number one pick in the NBA draft or number two pick. Murray State got him out of the state of South Carolina, the number one hoops prospect.
Yeah.
So to get the number one player to stay in state is really says something about, Clemson basketball and Coach Brownell and the job they've had to have done recruiting him. Because that hasn't happened all that often, which is unfortunate. It's not like football where, the number one player in football is normally always staying in state now and usually going to Clemson.
Yeah, PJ Hall, Amir Sims, Nick Honor's been having a pretty good year.
He's a good shooter.
Yeah.
Transfer from Fordham, which is he was a double-digit scorer, up there at Fordham, which I think is in New York. A pretty, not a very. They play in the A-10, which is a very good conference, so it averaged double figures in that league. says something about him as a player.
Yeah.
Not a very good program in the A10, but a very good conference.
Yeah. Yeah.
So,
But,
did you know that they actually have the oldest? I think this is right. They have like the second oldest like facility in the United States.
Fordham?
Yeah,
I did not know that. Where do they play? Do you know that?
I'll have to look it up, but it's
Okay.
like it's like William Met Hall or Williams Hall or something.
Gotcha. Okay.
But I read it in some book, and I'm like, who would, no one would know the answer.
Yeah,
to that.
yeah. Well, we talked a little bit about Furman's upcoming schedule. I mean, Clemson's still got some games out on its schedule that are going to be.
Clemson's got Alabama.
They do have Alabama December 12th. Next Wednesday, they host Maryland at Little John. That game at 5 p.m. Then after Alabama, they get a road contest at Virginia Tech, who's very good. Before heading down to
Villanova.
Yep. Then South Carolina, Florida State, they got a matchup with the Noles December 29th. John, one thing we talked about at lunch, though, today is so far we've seen some top dog ACC teams kind of struggle early on this season. North Carolina losing to a really good Texas team. I'll give them that, but losing there, Duke losing to a great Michigan State team. Not necessarily means anything that neither of those two could still win the conference, because they still can. But I really do think that maybe it opens the door up a little bit for a Clemson, a Florida State, somebody like that to win the ACC this year.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, North Carolina, we saw them. I guess they got to the championship game, but they didn't look great. Against I know Texas is really good, but Stanford, a team that maybe I thought they would have handled a little bit easier. They had some struggles against them, but I think there is an opportunity this year. I think there's more parity in the ACC than there's been. Duke's not what they were when they had Zion Williamson a couple of years ago. Obviously, I actually think Duke had one of their weaker teams last year. Virginia's already lost a game to San Francisco. So,
we've seen some big upsets so far early on in this basketball season.
Right. And so, I think Clemson's got as good a shot as anyone. I mean, to be there in February, and that's all you can really ask for, to be in maybe the top 3 or 4 in February, and then see how it plays out down the stretch. But this could be a very strong year. Even, let's say, if Clemson finishes 4th in the ACC, they could make a deep run in the NCAA tournament.
Oh, absolutely. I'd hope to see that. They had you remember that run a few years ago where they made it, I believe, to the Sweet 16, met up with a really good Kansas team there.
Kansas ended up winning it, I believe, that year. If I'm not mistaken.
Was it that year? That was the year that UMBC beat Virginia.
Right, exactly. And Kansas ended up going all the way, but they were really strong. I remember Clemson only lost by like 4.
Yeah, that was a great game.
And Clemson had to kind of claw their way back from the outset of the game. They kind of made it one of those Brad Brownell type defensive games to where Kansas couldn't do what they wanted to in the second half. And eventually foul trouble got to Clemson, and Kansas made their free throws. But Clemson has the ability. You saw it even against South Carolina State last night. And I don't know with South Carolina State, but to hold someone to 38 points, I mean, a Division I team, that's saying something.
Yeah, great performance by them defensively last night. John, we've seen some great matchups, some good games already early on in this year. You go back yesterday, a couple of matchups. You had the Texas-North Carolina game in the Camping World Maui Invitational, which is being held, which was held in Asheville this year, I guess, because of COVID-19. Nobody wanted to go out to Hawaii or whatever. But
I think it's a Bill Walton conspiracy.
Can we talk about how, though, the highlight of the Maui Invitational was Bill Walton?
Yes. Well, from him just getting up while the other guy was talking and just leaving to just like going off on tangents of like, where is he going with
I hope Bill Walton is doing games all year long, because I will watch any game. I don't care who's playing. if Bill Walton is doing the color for that basketball game,
he gave
I'm
some
watching.
like random fact about the Pisgah National Forest having like the second most trees in the United States behind like Oregon
so awesome.
Forest in Oregon. I'm like, what?
It's so good, dude. Oh man, Bill Walton is a national treasure.
Yeah, being the color guy or being the play-by-play guy beside him would be absolutely just easy.
Yes.
I mean, the guy, I guess, what was it, Jason Benedetti, I guess was his name. He had to be like, just like, guess what I'm doing this weekend, guys? I'm doing games with Bill Walton. So I pretty much just sit there and eat or do whatever I want to.
John, what was your favorite? You told me earlier your favorite line Bill Walton said this weekend or this week of the Maui Invitational was about huffing and puffing or something like that.
Yeah, he said, I know a lot about huffing and puffing. and Jason was like, I bet you do, Bill.
Bill Walton, such a national treasure.
And then he's talking about getting lost on Highway 14 somewhere near Landrum or something. I'm just like, how did you get to Asheville? And the other guy's like, how in the world did you come to Asheville? Yeah. He's like, I took the scenic route.
So good. But how about
got to imagine that he's a guy that probably has an iPhone that just never uses like location. He just finds places.
Yeah, it's too funny.
Sorry,
outside of Bill Walton, the Texas North Carolina game yesterday and that Maui Invitational, very good. Texas able to just pull out a 2-point win over the Tar Heels. Other good games. How about that Baylor-Illinois top 5 matchup last night in the Jimmy V?
Good,
they are. Baylor's. And we talked about it earlier today. I did not really realize just how good this Baylor team is.
They played a couple of games this year. I don't know if last night was one. I think last night was one of them without their head coach, Scott Drew, who had, I guess, tested positive for COVID. And I mean, I think it's a little bit different for basketball. I mean, obviously Alabama's probably going to be okay without Nick Saban because, they've got them. But I would imagine basketball is not that easy to not have your head coach. But as talented as Baylor, is, they were able to overcome that. And an Illinois team that had played, they really hadn't played that much competition so far, but very good. They're expected, I think, to finish second or third in the Big Ten this year. And the funny thing is, there was that big matchup between Duke and Michigan State for a while. It only looked like Michigan State was going to score in the 30s in that game.
And they ended up pulling out. I mean, that was a big win for Michigan State.
Yeah,
over
and against Duke. I think Duke's a little bit down. I do. As good as they played defensively in that game, they don't have the shot makers that they've maybe had, in previous years. I didn't think they were that great last year. I think Clemson played them a pretty good game last year. Yeah. So I'll be interested to see, who wins the ACC. I guess Virginia maybe is the favorite right now, but I mean, we've seen that they don't always, their style of basketball it's obviously a little bit boring, but also can work against them at times, just like it did in that upset loss. They seem to get upset a lot. By Virginia.
Virginia, that you wouldn't expect. Speaking of near upsets, the number 1 ranked team had to hold on to a gritty win yesterday in the Jimmy V. Gonzaga nearly losing to West Virginia.
Well, West Virginia is very good. I mean, obviously, Bob Huggins has done a tremendous job at that program. And, they play that kind of wacky press style, defense to where they press you all over the floor. And, but I was really impressed. Jalen Suggs, the player for Gonzaga, that was like the highest rated recruit in the country. He was like also very highly touted as a football player.
Yeah.
Coming out of high school, he was a quarterback, and apparently he could have gone anywhere he wanted to play football. It just so happened he chose basketball. and an incredible athlete if you hadn't seen him play yet. But I watched a little bit of their game with Auburn, like over Thanksgiving weekend, and they just dominated a pretty decent Auburn team. But you know, I just always love to see Bruce Pearl lose. So
you mentioned you do the struggles with Duke, but how about the struggles with Kentucky? They're off to a 1-2 start. Their only win over Morehead State. They lose to Richmond, and they lose to Kansas in back-to-back games.
And to be quite honest, they got kind of dominated in both of those. You know, and you know, the better team was obvious that it was Richmond and Kansas in those two games. Now, having said that, it a little bit, I think, goes to when you have freshmen every year, 5 freshmen, and then it takes you about the middle of SEC play to kind of get a mature team. So maybe that's a little bit of it, but I mean, you never know what you're going to get out of Kentucky.
Yeah.
And you know, looking more locally here, South Carolina, and I know Liberty's really good, but wow, they really, I think they beat South Carolina by 16 points, which is kind of shocking to me because I think South Carolina's a pretty good basketball program, you know, pretty good team coming into the year. It doesn't shock me that they lost to Liberty, but by 16 at home is a little bit shocking.
Yeah. I don't know. Kentucky got games has games with Georgia Tech, Notre Dame coming up. They also have UCLA and Louisville.
How about Georgia Tech starting off 0-2 with losses to Mercer and Georgia State?
Yeah, talk about that, because Mercer, what a surprise when talking. That's a SoCon team, John. How about the Bears getting a win over an ACC school?
And doing it in relatively easy fashion. I mean, Georgia Tech was a team picked, I think, 6th out of, 15 ACC teams, which is not bad. That's top half.
Yeah.
So they lose that game by 10. And then the first game of the year, Georgia Tech loses in quadruple overtime at Georgia State. And then Georgia State and Mercer play each other, and Mercer beats Georgia State by 17. Mm-hmm. So maybe Mercer's the best team in the state of Georgia.
Could be. Which, it's weird, man. I've never, Georgia, they're not any good at basketball. Like the Bulldogs.
Oh, no, I know. It's odd. And the one time they were good at basketball was like the early 80s when Dominique Wilkins was here, the human highlight reel.
Yeah.
So it's odd to me. Like in the early 80s in the ACC was like really good basketball because you had like Muggsy Bogues at Wake Forest.
Oh, yes, Muggsy Bogues.
Spud Webb at NC State. I mean, these are like really, and then Dominique Wilkins, obviously that's an SEC school, but the guys you had to stay for 4 years back there. You didn't have to stay, but you had to, a lot of guys would. And it's just a little bit of a diluted product you see now. But, man, some of those early ACC days, like when Gary Williams was at Maryland, and Maryland was actually in the ACC, which kind of brings me back to the Clemson-Maryland game. Such an odd ACC Big Ten Challenge game.
Yeah, but it's kind of intriguing because the whole, Maryland being in the ACC along, several years ago, that kind of storyline there. But yeah,
isn't it interesting though? We talked about Maryland, how the style of basketball is different in the Big Ten.
Yeah,
and them transitioning to that league. ACC is obviously a little bit better than the Big Ten traditionally in hoops, but Maryland was actually better in the ACC because they were always a guard-oriented program, and making the transition to like a more slower, plotting big man league like the Big Ten has not translated well.
No, it hasn't. Kind of transitioning, another team in the state of Maryland that's gotten off to a decent start. That's kind of surprising. You don't see many, of the 3 big military academies.
Yeah,
they're not really good at basketball, but Navy, the midshipmen, 3-1. They've got wins over George Washington and Georgetown.
Yeah, that win over Georgetown was huge. I mean, obviously just for the name alone, but Navy's actually coached by Ed DeChellis, who was a former Penn State coach. He actually was also a coach in the late 90s at East Tennessee State, and got ETSU to the tournament, I think in like 2003, 04, 2000. It was 2003, and then he left and took the Penn State job. And then he coached one of the better Penn State teams in history. They made like the Elite Eight or something.
Yeah.
And now he's obviously back at Navy, and I guess he got fired eventually at Penn State. But that's the thing about basketball is you can have a great season, and it can maybe get you 3 or 4 years, and then people start getting, even at a place like Penn State that's a football school, they start getting, trigger happy with the firings, and that's kind of what happened to him.
Yeah. Some games going on right now in college basketball. Coastal Carolina dominating in football, and they're also dominating on the hard floor as well tonight, beating Columbia International 104-46 with 6 minutes left to go in the game.
Cliff Ellis had to reach down in the bag to get Columbia International.
Let's see. We got Washington and Utah in a Pac-12 showdown. Utah currently up 52-46 in the second half, just over 12 minutes.
Wait, okay, so Washington and Utah are playing?
They are. They're on right now.
That's odd.
I don't know. Yeah, it is weird. It's a conference game in early December.
Leave it to the Pac-12.
That's strange. Strange for sure. All right, John, this one might surprise you a little bit. Western Carolina currently in a scrap, 29-all in the first half against Newberry.
Wow. Newberry. Who knew? I actually know the AD down there, Ralph Patterson.
Okay.
What
is Newberry's mascot? I don't even know what.
Aren't they the Wolves now?
I have no idea.
What are they? They used to be the Indians, and then they had to
change.
NCAA so now they're the Wolves.
Gotcha.
I wonder if I can pull that game up on stream. I'm sure I can.
The Citadel, they're losing right now in the first half.
North Carolina
A&T, 25-18, that one. 7 minutes to go in the first half. Liberty and St. Francis in a 26-25 matchup there. Marshall currently losing to Wright State, 27-21.
I think they're in the Horizon League. I'm not sure, but they're normally they're pretty good. The Wright State, I believe they're the Warriors. Don't quote me on that.
Maybe they are. Hang on. There are, let's see, the Wright State, Raiders. They're the Raiders. But their mascot is a wolf.
Interesting.
So that's an interesting mascot there. How about
that is? No, I mean, I wonder. That's odd.
Yeah, it is kind of odd. In an interesting matchup, actually, right now on ESPN, in the Romans Legends Classic, UConn and USC currently 28-26. The Huskies. Both those teams undefeated going into that game. Let's see. In games that have ended today already, you had Drexel beat Quinnipiac. Or however you say that.
Quinnipiac.
Yeah, that one. Winthrop beating Little Rock 80-75.
That's actually Little Rock is the pick to win the Sun Belt, one of the divisions.
Okay, really?
Yeah.
So that's a good one. So another good win for the Eagles there. They've beaten 2 preseason picks to win their conference.
we got a kick out of the the guy that kind of harassed Winthrop.
Yeah,
trying to cancel.
Awesome.
He saved all the tweets. And so we'll see in 20 years or something.
That's so awesome. You mentioned earlier VMI is taking on Virginia Tech tonight on the ACC network.
Yeah.
The game in Blacksburg.
I'm going to tune that one in. And, there's a little bit of a Southern Conference tie there. Is Wofford's former head coach Mike Young is the head coach now at Virginia Tech. So Virginia Tech with a big early season win over Villanova the other night. Villanova, of course, always one of the favorites to win the national championship. So that was a very big win for Mike Young and the Virginia Tech program. I'm intrigued by that early season Clemson Virginia Tech game.
Yeah, that'll be an interesting one to watch for sure.
Because those are two teams that I feel like most of the preseason prognosticators were not, maybe not had an eye on. And I think these are two teams that could make a run in the NCAA tournament, a significant run.
A couple of games going on tonight that are kind of interesting. Florida and Boston College. Now the game is a Roman Legends Classic matchup between those two.
Florida's always pretty strong.
Yeah.
Boston College since they've been in the ACC, they really haven't. That hasn't been a good move for them.
No, it hasn't.
In basketball
or in football.
The funny thing is, you would have thought football's been okay. They've been competitive.
Yeah. Early on, they looked really good. When they had Matt Ryan in those early days when they first joined the ACC, they were very, very good.
Right.
They've sort of taken a step back in recent years, but yeah, they're competitive. Oh, they're always a tough out in the ACC in football. And then another Pac-12 game tonight, John. Arizona State at Cal.
Wow, that'll be a good game. Arizona State was ranked early this season. They played a pretty tough early season schedule.
They 25th right now.
Okay. I think they're 2-1. I'm not sure, but they're one of those teams that could win the Pac-12 this year. Obviously, Oregon. One of the more surprising scores last night was Oregon, which is they lost to a Missouri team that's not really supposed to be that good. and Missouri's 2-0 now.
And Oregon, they're ranked. They're supposed to have a pretty good season and then be one of contenders in the Pac-12.
To win that league, and that was one of the real shocking results early in the season.
Been a couple of that. Well, John, we would be remiss if we did not. We're talking basketball. If we did not talk about Greenville College,
Greenville, Illinois. That is. Yes. Wow.
Oh man, the Greenville Panthers.
What have you done for me lately? Well, we gave up 174 in an exhibition.
I'm gonna say not a whole lot. That's so good. All right, so they've played, I don't even know how many games they've played.
Well, they've played, let's see.
All right, I'm going to go to their actual,
look at their point, go to their cumulative stats.
I'm going to, I'm going to see the Panthers. There we go. All right, here we go. I want stats. I want their schedule. It's going to be great.
In basketball.
Oh, man, this is – all right, so they played Illinois State last night, John. The final score, 177-108. 177.
Like Loyola Marymount back in the early 90s. Average, they scored 200 points.
John, they've played 4 games. The lowest score that an opponent has had against them is 138.
It was at Kansas City.
Kansas City. What are they like? The Roos? The Roos.
73 on them.
Yeah. So they've lost 174-99, 138-97, 173-95, and 177
this
to 108.
Better. They're playing. Okay, so they still got one more game against Bradley. Okay, so a little bit of background here. Bradley is the team picked to win Missouri Valley Conference. Yeah. This could get extremely ugly.
Yes, that would be great. Oh my gosh, I would. That's good.
We may have to pick. We may have to include something in our segment.
What's the
because I think there could be a very good chance that there's 200 points scored.
the over? John, the points per game allowed is 165.
I mean, like that is when it like. Can I watch this game? Is what I want to know.
They're averaging 25 personal fouls a game.
How many turnovers do they average in a game?
25. They're averaging 25 turnovers a game.
They had 40. Let's see how many they had. They had 43 against Sanford.
The rebound margin per game. They are getting.
You got to feel sorry for the SID.
They are getting out rebounded by 27 per game.
How many threes do they shoot?
Goodness,
they shot 55 threes
per game. Per game, and they've only made 15 per game.
They shot
27%.
108 times.
It's so good. They're averaging.
Look at Illinois State. They shot 86.4% for the game.
No, they did. Did they really?
70 of 81 from the field.
That's so
and they
good.
only shot 14 threes. They're all layups and dunks. You can't make that stat line up, man. I mean, that's awesome.
And
they almost shot 90% for a game.
Greenville went 14 at 55 from the 3-point line. To give you a comparison,
they only shot 69% from the line. Oh my God.
Illinois State had 42 free throws.
I mean, free throws, 42. That game had to have taken like 3.5 hours to play. How about this?
Yeah, so
Greenville
good.
got to the line 14 times, and the other team got to the line 42 times.
Illinois State had all but 2 players scoring double digits.
They had a guy score 7 and one score 1. And literally everybody else on the roster scored in double figures.
Had at least 12.
Right. That is, I mean, that's something that you screenshot and be like, you come back to that later. I'm going to save this and screenshot. I've got a game here that.
They were out rebounded 57 to 30.
For real, is that a Division I record? I mean, for someone to shoot 86% for a game? Like, what is the record?
John, at one point,
I'm going to Illinois. Illinois State would put that on there.
At one point, Greenville had a 2-point lead.
It was 2-0.
At one point, Illinois State had a 71-point lead.
The largest lead, 71. Yeah. Well, my favorite one was Sanford. They scored 99 points against Sanford and lost by 75.
What's sad, and I know we're laughing. I feel bad for these poor kids just getting drubbed every game they go out there and play.
Part of that's coaching. They're just telling them not to play defense.
But John, they're averaging 99.8 points per game. In any other situation, they would win every single one of those games.
Is there a comparable football? Is there a comparable offense in football that's just that bad on defense?
Ole Miss?
Probably, yeah. That would be a good comparison.
Ole Miss. Oh, wow. That's too good, dude. It's too good. Because
even those Houston teams that went back in the early 90s, when they would score 90 points, the other team would score 35. be like 90-35. Gosh.
Oh man!
Didn't they try to score 100 on? Remember SMU all those violations, and they played Houston. Who was like, back then was like they had the run and shoot offense, and they ended up scoring like 93 or something on them, and they left the starters in the whole game. That's so wrong.
That's too good. Oh man!
But like in basketball, you can't really call off the dog. I mean, you can't just start getting like 24-second violations. Like, what would you do? Like, what do you do? Tell people not to dunk it, or on a clear fast break? I mean, that even looks worse. So,
I don't know, man. Oh, that's too fun. I'm over here crying. That's so funny. Feel bad for those guys. But
here on Illinois State's website, records fall in an offensive showcase.
Illinois State just rubbing it in. Oh wow!
Okay, numerous records fell by the wayside for the Illinois State Redbirds in their win over Greenville.
All right, so when is that game?
That is an NCAA record, by the way.
Is it?
Which set NCAA records for field goal percentage. Assists. They had 57 assists. That's half 100 assists.
So when do they play Bradley? When is that Bradley game?
That's December 7th. So Illinois State's records may not last all that long.
So that's Monday. So next Thursday we'll have something to talk about.
Yes.
We'll do a check-in on Greenville.
Isn't there wouldn't D-Day like December 7th?
1941, yeah.
It's going to be D-Day.
A date that will live in infamy.
Yes. Basketball infamy.
Oh, that's too good.
Wow.
All right. Well, let's switch gears a little bit. That's some college basketball. Let's move over to the gridiron now, the football. Yes. Some good games going on this weekend, John. Not too many, but there are some pretty good ones. One that stands out, Coastal Carolina has traded up their opponent for this weekend. They were supposed to
upgrade.
They did. They were supposed to play Liberty. Liberty had to cancel because of COVID concerns. So now Coastal Carolina has added BYU. The Cougars are coming to Dirty Myrtle to take on the Shamps.
Love it.
It's going to be Mormons versus Mullets.
That's awesome. And the other thing is, that there's really, I mean, you have to kind of dig a little bit. App State, Louisiana's a very good matchup.
That's a great game. We're going to pick. That'll be one of our picks later on. I have a feeling I know who you're going to go with, but
yeah, I have a feeling that App State might be getting ready to get one too. So
yeah, I just might. I'm not gonna. I don't want to spoil it. But
imagine this though: if you're App State, you've lost to 2 undefeated teams.
Yeah. I mean, dude, they put it on Troy last week. I'll give them that. They absolutely pounded Troy last week.
Out their frustration.
They did.
From Myrtle Beach on poor Troy.
Yeah, poor Troy in that one. But yeah, Coastal, that's going to be a great game. It'll also be one of our picks. I'll be interested to see, can anybody – now, BYU, this will be the first real test for BYU. This will be
a test, yeah.
Coastal's had a couple tests, obviously App State, Louisiana. BYU has had a cakewalk through their season this year.
Yeah, you could argue Coastal's had the more of the tests with App State and some of the teams. Louisiana on the road.
Because honestly, the toughest game. Okay, Boise State. A few weeks ago.
That's their most impressive victory.
Yes,
BYU.
But I'm looking at they beat Troy. They had Navy early on. Texas State. North Alabama a week ago.
Am I right by saying this, Cameron? Did BYU cancel a game with Washington?
Washington, they were going to try to play Washington, but I don't think Washington wanted to.
Okay. So
it's not. So the schedule's not for BYU's lack of trying. they actually had before COVID had a pretty decent schedule, and then obviously things kind of got changed because of COVID and some cancellations and things like that. So I mean, they just kind of had to piece together a schedule that,
Right.
but this
They're
will
still
be
pretty-
a
you
big
know,
test. This will be a big test for BYU. I'll be interested to see now because Coastal's defense is very good. I'll be interested to see how Zach Morris or Zach Wilson, excuse me, Zach Wilson, Zach Morris, Saved by the Bell. Zach Wilson, how he does against that Coastal Carolina, especially that Coastal
Yeah.
Carolina front seven.
That and the very good middle linebacker
Yes.
who has the who had a run in with great clips, as Marty says. The local great clips. I love that, that segment on Marty and McGee. But they have, and that's the thing is team speed for Coastal is really good.
Yeah.
On defense. That was one of the things that was so surprising about the App State game. Normally, App State's able to, they their running backs, particularly Harrington, are able to get, outside and kind of create some space, but they weren't able to do that against Coastal Carolina, which is a little bit surprising to me. Sims didn't get as much running room, so very fast on the defensive side of the ball as Coastal Carolina.
Yep, so that'll be a big matchup. I'll be interested to see too, because Coastal's offense has struggled at times. They've been pretty good, but they've had their moments of struggle. Early on in that App State game, they really kind of struggled to move the ball.
Ran the ball well early, and then they made some adjustments on defense that really kind of limited what App State could do in the running game.
Yeah, so that'll be a fun matchup for sure. That in College Game Day, first time ever, they're going down to Conway, going to be on the teal turf down there at Brooks Stadium. That's going to be awesome. We were joking about who should sponsor this matchup down there. You said the winner should go to Eagles or Wings, get some beach towels,
free gear.
Yeah, sponsored by Pirate Land or Ocean
and
Lakes.
They get back to what if BYU won and they get back to Provo and they'd be like, what is Wings and Eagles?
Yeah. Man, that's so awesome. Another top 25 matchup, this one in the Big Ten, Indiana at Wisconsin. Indiana now without without Penix Jr. because he tore his ACL last week.
Yeah, I heard, and I didn't hear about that until I heard about it on the radio actually this week. Didn't see it in the game, but yeah, that's a huge loss for them.
It's tough.
So and Wisconsin's had they've had a weird year. I think is the best way to describe it. I was a little bit disappointed after in that game against Northwestern that they didn't play a little bit better in that game.
Oh, they couldn't.
Northwestern's really good.
They couldn't move the ball. Well, then Northwestern goes and loses to Michigan State.
Yeah.
Which that's a weird team. Michigan State beats two top 25 teams but loses to Rutgers.
Yeah, and other than in the 7 turnover game, I guess against Michigan, that's been a really weird conference this year.
Yeah, it has been.
Ohio State now the big talk is will they get enough games in? What does it all mean? I guess they only have 4 games.
It's almost setting up. We've kind of joked about it that Michigan might could play spoiler to Ohio State's season by canceling the game. They're setting it up now. I mean, they've
already canceled Maryland.
Yeah, they're setting it up. So we'll see if that game takes place next week.
It's a 14-day. Depending on how many people you have positive.
Yeah.
If you have more than 3 positives, well, at least that's the way it is for basketball. I don't know how football goes, but.
Well, the Big Ten, you remember the Big Ten's got that, and whoever tests positive has that 21-day quarantine policy.
Oh, that's right. Yeah. So this could be interesting.
Could be. So that's something.
Did you see on Twitter where people, Ohio State fans are like, "Oh, well, they ought to investigate the COVID test."
Yeah. Crazy.
Somewhere, Florida State's laughing.
Well, and then speaking of Florida State, I think they've just given up on the rest of the year.
We're just gonna call it a year. Gosh, maybe Greenville should do that in basketball.
Yeah, Florida State has just given up this year. There's some good ones. Let's talk a little bit. Obviously, here locally, you've got Clemson, who just came off a nice win last week. They now head up to Blacksburg, take on a Virginia Tech team that it's been a weird year for the Hokies, man.
Yeah, it really has. But I feel like a pretty talented.
Yeah, they are
team. And they're always, they always seem to play. I won't say like that they're going to win the game or anything, but they play Clemson well up there. Which they may keep it. They could keep it conceivably close for a half, and maybe into the third quarter. But I think Clemson's just too good.
Yeah,
but they have the talent to keep it close for a while.
Yeah, I mean, I just Virginia Tech ever since the Liberty loss, it's just not been good.
Well, and I don't know. You never know what the psyche. Mm-hmm. No matter how much talent you have, if you're not in the right mindset in football, it could be lights out early.
Because they followed that game up with just a heartbreaking loss to Miami, in which they had the lead late and then let it slip away.
They led almost the whole.
They did, and then they just got boat raced by Pitt the week after that.
Game that you felt like they weren't. Pitt was not that much better than Virginia Tech. I felt like that game was just one that, they let the Miami game beat them twice.
Yeah.
Really.
Yeah, you could say they let the Liberty game beat them 3 times, really.
Right,
if you think about it that way. But Clemson coming off a win over Pitt. This will be the regular season finale for the Tigers.
It'll probably be cold up there, I would imagine.
Probably, yeah. It's early December. You got to imagine it might be cold. Who knows if there's any weather or anything in the way? Then could see some possible snow. I don't know what the weather's supposed to be like up there in Blacksburg.
That it snowed in Boone. Boone's not like an hour and a half from Virginia Tech. So
yeah,
it could be like it's supposed to get some. I heard some snow this weekend in Boone, so potentially could have some snow in.
Yeah, according to ESPN, AccuWeather that they've got listed here is supposed to be 45 degrees and possible rain. So.
Ooh,
could be
even worse.
Yeah, it could be some nasty weather. Clemson a 22-point favorite on the road against the Hokies. The other team,
that's probably fair, I would say.
I think that's probably about right. Clemson probably could end up winning it by more.
This is probably going to be a game where I think they're going to try to establish ETN a little bit.
Yeah, they need to. The run game's not been there. Ever since really the Boston College game, they've not been able to run the ball at all.
Right, and that's to me the scariest thing for me for Clemson is, and they're starting to get some guys healthy now, which is good. Along the offensive line, but they got to be able to run the ball. They got to be able to run it better the next time they play Notre
Dame. Yeah, and hopefully they will. And the big thing was in the rematch with Notre Dame is hopefully they're healthy on defense. Because they were so depleted on that side of the ball, and still nearly won that game. So if they're
on the defensive line,
if they're healthy on defense, I like Clemson's chances a little bit better in the rematch. But this will be the regular season finale. Obviously, the Florida State game next week has been just gone ahead and canceled. So sets up.
I like what
between.
The ACC did though.
Yeah,
where, the Wake Forest Notre Dame game's not going to not going to be played. Florida State Clemson's not going to be played. They don't really need to play those games.
No, they don't.
Neither team before the championship does not need to risk an injury if you don't have to play it.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I agree with you there. The other Power 5 team in the state of South Carolina, the Gamecocks. It's been a bad year here in 2020 for South Carolina. They traveled to Lexington take on a Wildcats team that's looking for a win. They've gotten just blown out by Florida and Alabama in back-to-back weeks.
Gosh, and Kentucky has been like their nemesis. The team that they've had. Now, last year, I guess they beat them last year, but just a team they've really struggled with, particularly on the road. And so, speaking of mindsets, what mindset is South Carolina in? What is Mike Bobo? Is he even in the realm of conversation for even staying on in South Carolina at this point? I don't know. There's a lot of, kind of background storylines going into this one, from who's being talked about as the potential replacement for Muschamp.
Yeah.
Is Bobo still in the running? What's the future of the quarterback position? There's a lot of unknowns, I think. Maybe more so right now than maybe when, going back to when, Lou Holtz took over and it was such a bad situation there.
It feels kind of similar to that, and it's going to take a special somebody to come in there and right that ship. This is the regular season finale for the Gamecocks as well. The big talk, though, especially from last week and everything, is the emergence of the freshman quarterback, Luke Doty, coming in, and which I still don't get why Helinski's not playing. I do not understand. I do not understand it.
That doesn't. The only thing I can figure out is there's something else maybe going on that we don't really are not privy to knowing, and they can't really talk about.
I guess, but man, if I'm Helinski, I'm gone after this year.
If there isn't something else going on, if I'm Helinski, then I'm out. I'm like, peace, see y'all later. I'm going to somewhere that I can actually play, because think about it. The kid's all the way across the country.
Yeah.
To come to South Carolina, he's had the horrible tragedy within his family.
Yeah.
It
was such an inspirational. It was such a great story and an inspirational story last year when he came on the scene. He actually played. He didn't play all that bad. He actually had
played pretty good against Alabama.
I go back, that Alabama game, that first half. He played well for most of the season.
He played well against Georgia. That touchdown pass, I guess it was Shi Smith, which I believe, that caught the long ball against Georgia. He played well. To be a freshman quarterback.
Yeah, I know.
I don't understand it at all.
I don't get it at all. And look, I don't know why they brought in Hill. I guess that was a Bobo thing when
I guess
Muschamp,
that was sort of a package.
Yeah, when Muschamp hired Bobo, I guess that was a package deal that Hill was coming with him. But he's not been. He has played. It hasn't been good at all. The lone bright spot for South Carolina on offense is Kevin Harris, the running back.
Yeah. He's been, it'll be interesting to see what guys stay, because you don't have to sit out a year this year if you transfer. So there's going to be all kinds of stuff. You don't want to say schools will do illegal stuff to get kids.
Yeah.
But you got to imagine Kevin Harris, as good of a year as he's had on a bad team. He could play at a lot of other places in the SEC and have a lot more success. So that's one thing that I don't think a lot of people are considering right now, because there could be a mass exodus at a lot of places.
Yeah. I don't know.
Because you can play next year.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's gonna be interesting.
And that's got to be a concern, recruiting wise, when, because a lot of these guys I know Clemson they're having to do Zoom visits with their guys, to sign, and which is fine, but for Clemson, that's one thing. But for South Carolina, it's a whole different thing to try to sell somebody on a program that's not going in a great direction right now.
Yeah, it's going to be I don't know. I don't know what we've talked about it. I don't know what the fix is going to be. Or
I really
it seems right now that Beamer, from everything that I hear, it seems like Beamer is going to be the guy.
That South Carolina fans would never admit it, but they're looking for a Dabo Sweeney diamond in the rough type deal.
Oh, they are. They absolutely are.
And because you're going to hire a guy that's a great recruiter, no question about it, but doesn't have coordinator experience, doesn't have the experience as a head coach. And you're just going to, going up against a Billy Napier or somebody that has that experience as both a coordinator and a head coach, I just think it's a risk. You better know what you're doing if you're Ray Tanner, and the track record ain't too good.
Yeah, no, I agree with you there. So we'll see. I don't know. All right, John, let's move on to every week we do our super dogs, the biggest underdogs each week. Got some good ones, man, this week. You're going to love some of these. We're going to start off in Conference USA play. The Rice Owls.
Wow.
Are going on the road to Huntington, West Virginia.
Oh, Lord.
Take on Marshall. They are a 23.5-point dog to Marshall.
Wow. Yeah, I think Rice is the one that had that field goal that bounced 4 times off the goalpost or whatever.
To lose the game.
Yeah, to lose against Middle Tennessee.
Is that like an overtime or something, too?
Yeah. So I'm going to say Marshall covers. Like, Marshall is the team, I never feel bad for Marshall, but they are kind of the undefeated that no one is really.
That no one's talking about. I know. I don't know. Marshall.
And it'd be kind of neat if they could set up a game with Cincinnati.
Yeah.
Like if you had a Marshall-Cincinnati game and like a Coastal.
They're not
that's
far
where the
apart.
group of 5 should have
a playoff. We've talked about this. There absolutely should be a group of 5 playoff because imagine, this BYU Coastal game kind of feels like a playoff game in itself. Like if there were a group of 5.
I think any college football fan is kind of pumped for this game.
Absolutely.
You can't say that you're not intrigued by it.
It's the best matchup of the day, honestly.
Yeah, and as much as I like big-time college football, I'm looking forward to watching.
No, I absolutely. It's going to be great.
Clemson, Virginia Tech, or anybody else.
Yeah, that's going to be a great game. In the Big 12, as Ryan McGee so lovingly refers to them as the Kansas Jayhawks. The Jayhawks of Kansas are a 27-point dog on the road in Lubbock.
Wow. And Texas Tech isn't,
good.
They're not setting the world on fire by any stretch of the imagination, but they can score points. And Kansas really can't do either. Stop anyone or score. So I'm going to say Texas Tech covers.
All right, you're going with the Red Raiders. Kansas is just –
they're just so bad. They're so bad. Who do you think would win between Kansas and Vanderbilt? You think Sarah Fuller kicks a game winner?
Nobody's even talking about her anymore, but after literally the day after that, they fired Derek Mason. So
right. Why did that? When she did they make her do a squib kick?
Yeah, that was a play. Apparently it was a planned play.
Oh, okay.
But if you notice, she kicks it and then they make her run off the field.
I want to see her deck somebody.
Well, I wanted to see how deep she could kick it. I wanted to see her just bomb one.
Yeah, or as a goalkeeper.
She's the goalkeeper in soccer. She's kick. She can kick them pretty far.
Right.
I wanted to see her bomb the
kickoff. I want to see her kick a long field, her having a long field goal attempt.
Or just a field goal attempt.
If Vanderbilt actually reaches the other side of the field, they ought to just set up on first down.
Is she even going to be on the? Is she even going to be dressing? Is she even on the team for this week, or do they get the regular kickers?
Oh,
back?
I don't know. I hope so. I think so. Why would she only be on there for 1 week and not the next?
Well, because they had those. All the kickers had COVID or something like that.
Oh, so now, you're off the team. That would be horrible, right? So now you're just not going to kick anymore. I mean,
I don't know. I haven't heard anything. They've literally not talked about that story.
I think she's earned the right to kick another week. I mean, it's Vanderbilt. Yeah. They're 0-7. I mean, she didn't really get to do. I was hoping, to be honest, she would get to kick like a field goal or some, but Vanderbilt didn't score, so she obviously get to kick an extra point.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. Here's our next one, John. Speaking of Vanderbilt, the Commodores going on the road to Athens, Georgia, taking on the Bulldogs. They're a 35-point dog to Georgia.
She's probably not going to get – she's not making that trip because they're probably not scoring.
Georgia covers.
Yeah,
I would say Georgia.
Georgia's covering that.
Yeah, JT Daniels probably throws like 7 touchdown passes in this game.
He probably sets every Georgia record or breaks every one he set last week or whatever.
Notre Dame is a 34-point favorite at home against Syracuse.
Syracuse is always the odd team. They're gonna. Yeah. I'm gonna take them to cover the 34.
It just seems like one of those games that Notre Dame's just like gonna have a disappointing.
You remember how they played around with Louisville for the whole game?
Yeah. And Duke early on. Remember that first game against Duke? I mean, that was ugly.
Notre Dame has the ability to like make a game that should be a game.
The only time
I'm going to say that like they only win by like 24.
Okay. It's going to be closer than the experts think. All right, John, this one's the all-time favorite. I don't know. This could be a record that we've done this. I have no idea, but it's a good one. Western Carolina. Oh, the Catamounts are going to Chapel Hill, taking on North Carolina. They're a 50-point dog to North Carolina.
Oh See, Matt Brown's a pretty nice guy.
Yeah.
So I'm actually going to take Western to cover.
You don't think they're going to hang? It's not going to be 70-14 or anything like that?
I mean, I'm not saying that it couldn't happen because I think it can.
Yeah.
But I just don't think that I think, okay, Clemson Citadel is a good comparison. That game could have gotten way out of hand, but it didn't.
Yeah.
You would think that being an in-state school, and
take a little easy on them.
They'll go easy on them. I think it'll be like.
All right. Over-under, does Western.
40, I think it'll be 45-0.
Now, over-under, does Western score more than 2 touchdowns?
I don't think they score.
It's going to be 70-0.
I think it's going to be
49 to nothing.
Yeah, 49-0.
It's great.
7 touchdowns. Keep it at that.
Yeah. Not quite the full 50.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be a bad beat on Scott Van Pelt.
Yeah.
What a bad beat. Somebody's going to miss an extra point.
Dude, I love the bad beat side. That's awesome. All right. On to our picks for this week, John. Last week, we had one game get canceled. That was the Colorado USC game. Did not get played. So only 9 games last week we had. I went 8-1. 8-1, John.
Nice.
My only loss was Michigan.
Don't pick them again.
Yeah. Losing to Penn State.
Cancel.
Yeah. And then you went 7-2. You obviously had Michigan, but you picked North Carolina over Notre Dame too.
I was on track there for a half.
Yeah, that was close. I will say I was rooting for North Carolina there, but
that was a good half. I mean, and then the second half, like North Carolina could not do anything.
No, yeah, it was kind of it was just a close game. It was I didn't feel like Notre Dame could do much. Game. Yeah, I didn't feel like Notre Dame did a whole lot on offense either.
No.
So,
no, I mean, it was kind of just the second half, kind of boring. But
yeah, not a lot happening. Overall, I'm 72-39. John, you're 63-48. So I've got a 9-game lead on you.
It's probably like where the Montreal Expos were late in the year, 9 games back.
No chance of coming back.
No chance. Yeah.
All right, can you you need to have every pick opposite of me this week then?
Yeah. Which is not going to happen.
No,
We'll
no, it's not. All right,
I'll end up having to take like Tulane over.
No, got some interesting games. Got some good matchups, and then got some pretty bad ones too that really could just be a pick 'em. That'll be
How about
interesting.
Southern Miss hiring Tulane's offensive coordinator?
I mean,
did you see that?
Keeping it in the conference, I guess.
It's just a weird hire to me.
Didn't know much about Tulane's offensive coordinator, but
no, I thought, I know they had a good offense.
Yeah.
Yes, Willie Fritz will have to go find him a new offensive coordinator.
I thought Willie Fritz was his own offensive coordinator.
I did too.
Be quite honest. All right, John. Tomorrow night, your App State Mountaineers taking on Louisiana in a big Sun Belt showdown up in Boone. Can App State get a big win over top 25 ranked Raging Cajuns team?
Oh yeah. Billy Napier returns to the Rock.
That's right.
The last time, that they were there was the championship game last year. It was the whole history. If you go back to October the 12th, 2002, when Bobby Lamb was the coach, and obviously the 2-point play. I don't know have we ever talked about that?
I don't know.
Where Furman had the lead 16-15, and Billy Napier changed the play, and so. I'm sorry, they had the lead 15-14. Billy Napier changes the play. They intercept a 2-point conversion with 7 seconds left and lateral it, returned it for 2 points, and App State won 16-15.
Wow.
So there's a little bit of history.
So, and Billy Napier has not been back since that game?
Well, just the championship game, I guess, last December.
Okay, yeah.
But obviously, there's a little bit of history. Bobby Lamb's son played quarterback at App State.
Yeah.
So I'm going to go with my alma mater here. I think they're due a big win. And I think this is it. They've had a good season.
Yeah.
You lose to 2 undefeated teams and really in games that they were in the fourth quarter. So yeah, I'm gonna go my Mountaineers here.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree. I think App State's got some momentum. They've lost 2 tough games. Obviously the Coastal game a couple of weeks ago, that was a tough loss. They bounced back, just drubbed Troy last week. Louisiana also lost to that Coastal Carolina team, but Louisiana's not. I've not been impressed. They've had 2 games where they've just absolutely dominated their opponent. One was Iowa State at the beginning of the year. The other was last week when they just killed UL Monroe.
Yeah.
The rest of their schedule, they've got a 3-point win over Georgia State, a 2-point win over Georgia Southern, a 4-point win over UAB, a 3-point win over Arkansas State. Like they've not really been dominant. They've kind of let teams hang around.
Yeah,
I think App's got some momentum.
They're playing. I will say
it's kind of a scary pick, to be quite honest, because if App's been notorious for getting off to slow starts this year, if they do that. Well, like we talked with the Coastal Carolina game, if they get off to a slow start, things might get ugly. Now, they were able to get off to a pretty good start and led most of the Coastal game. But,
yeah,
I think the big thing, too, is home field advantage, the weather. Those guys from
the weather.
Lafayette, the difference in weather between Lafayette, Louisiana, and Boone, North Carolina.
It's a little bit different. Yeah. A little bit of a culture shock.
So I think that plays a factor too. But I like you. I like the pick. I'm going to go with the Mountaineers at home. They've played really well against Louisiana in the past couple of years. They've really, I feel like, have had Louisiana's number, to be quite honest.
Right.
So I'll go with App State there. All right, John. This is a battle of the bottom of the Big Ten. Penn State finally got a win last week over Michigan. They now head to Piscataway, take on Rutgers.
Does that save James Franklin's job?
He might lose it if they lose this week, though.
It's a Rutgers.
Yes.
What's the line on that game? That's interesting.
All right, let's see.
Tell me Rutgers is favored. Will make my night.
Game at noon on FS1 here in Piscataway.
If you've got a noon kickoff, it's never a good thing.
All right, come on, load.
At
the moment, nothing is loading, or nothing is.
Well,
nothing. There's no spread.
Right, it doesn't matter. It's no line.
Like literally, there's not a spread listed on ESPN's website.
How about this college basketball update for you? UConn up 53-40 on Southern Cal.
Nice.
In the Roman Legends Classic. Southern Cal must not find a Pac-12 opponent tonight. So UConn back from basketball exile, it looks like.
Yeah, they canceled the football season. All right, here's your
They need to just cancel their football program.
All right, here's your line, John. 11.5 in favor of the Nittany Lions.
Wow. That's a little bit shocking to me. You know what? I mean, I'm going to say that Penn State got a little bit of momentum from that win last week. I don't think they win. I think they win by like a touchdown.
Yeah.
I don't think they win. I don't think they cover.
It's going to be like 14-10. It's kind of
it's going to be an awful game.
Yeah, it really is. I mean, I don't think either team's going to score a whole lot of points. I agree with you. I think maybe the Michigan win will kind of help Penn State a little bit. Rutgers, as much as they all have improved, they're still Rutgers. So
they're a team of like entirely of transfers almost.
Yeah, they really are, but they're getting better. But I'm going to go Penn State too. I just think they're definitely the more talented team. I think they'll get it done. ACC matchup, Boston College going on the road to Virginia. Virginia traveled all the way down to Tallahassee last week, just like Clemson did, and the game got canceled.
Sorry.
So will Virginia now bounce back from that, and can they get a win at home in Charlottesville?
I think so. I think Virginia's, I think maybe Coach Bronco Mendenhall has done maybe a little bit better job this year coaching wise than maybe last year when he had, was it Perkins at quarterback?
Yeah.
So I think Virginia gets the job done. What's their record now?
They're 4-4.
I think this is maybe this is not that I don't know what bowl games they'll have or whatever, but I think this is a big kind of moment in their season. I think they need to win this game to have some momentum, whatever happens down the stretch or even going into next season. But to get towards having a winning season, 6-7 wins would be a lot. It would be huge in a season where, a lot of people thought they'd have a huge step down, which they've been competitive pretty much the whole season and have played pretty well. So I'm going to go Virginia.
I'm going to disagree. I'm going to go with Boston College. I'm going to go two words, Phil Jurkovec. I'm going to go with the quarterback for Boston College. Virginia's had problems stopping the pass this year. That's been their big thing on defense. You saw it at Clemson. Trevor Lawrence, had a field day against that Virginia secondary. North Carolina, Sam Howell put up a bunch on them as well. So I'm going to go Boston College. I think Boston College is – they played Clemson very well. They actually had a pretty good showing against Notre Dame a few weeks ago, coming off a win over Louisville last week. I'm going to go with the Eagles. I think they get a big win here over Virginia. I'm going to disagree with you. So we'll have at least one that we don't agree
disagreement.
On. Yeah, a little bit. We talked about South Carolina and all the problems that they've had and everything and what's going on. What's the fix for them? It's not going to happen overnight for sure. It's going to take some time. They end this just abysmal 2020 season on the road up in Lexington on Saturday, going up against Kentucky.
To be honest, they probably have a better chance of beating Kentucky in basketball at Kentucky.
It's going to be a sad year for Kentucky fans if their basketball team is garbage too.
It really is. Be like Kansas if their basketball team is garbage.
Yeah. Well, because I mean, what are they going to look forward to? Baseball season like that?
That's what they do at Vanderbilt. But anyway,
yeah.
So yeah, I'm going to go Kentucky, just because South Carolina never plays well in Lexington for some reason. No matter how good they are, they never play well there.
Kroger Field's just they just cannot seem to win at Kroger Field.
And the funny thing about it is, Kentucky, if it wasn't a COVID season, that game would be a sellout. I mean,
yeah,
they draw as well as South Carolina does when they're, they're bad.
Yeah. I agree. I just think South Carolina. I think they've given up. I think they've just absolutely given up on this year. I just don't think they have anything to play for.
And Kentucky still has a pretty good defense.
Yeah, they do. I mean, I worry about Kentucky's. I think it's going to be a low-scoring game, to be quite honest, because I don't think Kentucky's offense can score either. It's going to be like the Penn State Rutgers game. It's going to be like 14-10.
Good. Is that what time's the kickoff of that game? So I can avoid if they're both noon. I'll avoid noon.
No, this was at 7:30, same time as the Clemson VT game. Prime time on the SEC network.
What a bad game. SEC network always. Have you noticed that they always get like the worst games? Yes. Like the Vanderbilt Missouri game was
Well, I think South Carolina Missouri was on there the other way. The South Carolina Ole Miss game.
Basically, they're getting Vanderbilt, Kentucky, Missouri, South Carolina each week. It's like a revolving door. Early score update for you from Castle Coliseum. VMI leading Virginia, 16th ranked Virginia, 13-11 with 7:29 left in the
Look at the key dance, man, traveling down from Lexington, or not, excuse me. Yeah, from Lexington down to Blacksburg.
Mm-hmm. Putting the old Stonewall Jackson butt whipping on him right now.
Stonewall. Oh, man.
11 points with 7.5 minutes left. They're pretty much stonewalling him at the rim.
That's too funny. Yeah, so we're both going to go with Kentucky to beat Carolina. Real quickly, we'll probably both pick Clemson here, but Clemson at Virginia Tech.
Yeah, I'm going to go Clemson. Although I think, like I said, it depends. Like what the mindset of Virginia Tech, they can either make this a game for a half, or maybe into the third quarter, or Clemson will just come out and completely blow them out.
Yeah, I worry about what the mentality is going to be with Virginia Tech. They do have. Even after this game, they do have one game with some meaning left. They play Virginia next week, so this isn't like the end of the season for them. They at least do have something to play for next week. I don't think they have any shot really this week. I think Clemson's going to go out there much like they did against Pittsburgh last week, and just I think it's going to be the Trevor Lawrence show through the air. The defense is getting healthy.
I think Clemson will try to get off to a fast start because as many players as they have the opportunity to rest will be important going forward. So I think they'll try to throw as much as they can at them early
on. Yeah, I agree with you there. So Clemson going to get a big win, I feel like, up in Blacksburg. John, interesting Pac-12 matchup on Sunday night.
Weird, yeah.
Washington State at USC, the 20th ranked Trojans hosting the Cougars.
What's that? What's Washington State's record?
The Cougs. Let me see here.
I know they lost that game to, was it Oregon State?
They are 1-1. Yeah, they beat Oregon State and then lost to Oregon.
That's right. I had it backwards. So yeah, I think USC is going to continue their march forward towards a potential Pac-12 title, which now has really opened up for them that Oregon has lost.
Yeah, for real.
So I feel good about Southern Cal's chances. Although, Washington State's one of those teams that they've got an offense good enough to make things interesting should it come to that. But I just don't think they can stop USC in their potency and their passing attack.
Yeah, I agree. I think USC might just be the best team in the Pac-12 this year with Oregon losing now. Washington's actually not that bad. I feel like the Huskies are actually getting better too. But I like what Clay Helton and the Trojans are doing down there. I think they get a nice win over Washington State at a really interesting. I mean, a Sunday night prime time game, which they're going to have to compete with the NFL on Sunday night. But that'll be interesting one to watch for sure. So both going to take the Trojans. I mentioned Washington. They are getting better. They are now ranked. They're coming into this game 22nd in the country. They host Stanford this weekend.
Yeah, Washington's been really good defensively.
Yeah.
And they might be the team that is kind of the dark horse in the whole Pac-12 race. I think they beat Stanford. I think it's a pretty good game, but Stanford hangs around for maybe 2-3 quarters. But I think Washington's defense is too strong, and I like them in this one.
Yeah, the Huskies, man, they've looked good, dude. I mean, Utah, they beat Utah last week.
They looked impressive in that win. I think, Utah's pretty solid.
Yeah, Utah's not gotten a good. They've not had a great start to the year.
No, they really haven't.
With the loss to, would they lose to USC and then the loss to Washington there. It's not been it's not been a great.
I think we picked that game and we both picked Washington last week, if I'm not mistaken.
No, I don't remember. I don't remember. I don't think we did. I could be wrong.
Okay, maybe we didn't.
But we're both going to pick Washington here this week over Stanford. Number 5, Texas A&M. They're right on the cusp of a playoff berth. Can they avoid that one bad game? They head to Jordan-Hare, take on Auburn this week.
Wow, and this is a tricky game.
Yeah.
Should they get past this hurdle, though, they gotta have maybe some things happen ahead of them, but they're in a good position.
What Texas A&M needs is they need Florida. They need Alabama to just destroy Florida in the SEC championship game, and they need Clemson to or Notre Dame, either one. Clemson or Notre Dame has to just destroy the other team, in the ACC championship game. If Ohio State has enough games played and enough wins, I feel like they're going to get in.
It's going to come down to what they say about Ohio State, and depending on how many games they have, and that's going to cause some. It'll be a SEC Big Ten thing then, which that'll be interesting to watch because I really at this point I think Ohio State's a better football team than Texas A&M. Just judging from what I've seen.
Overall, I definitely agree with you. I mean, last week Texas A&M didn't look great against LSU. I mean, their defense played well, but offensively, Kellen Mond was not sharp. Yeah, he was not good at all throwing the ball last week. Offensively, they just couldn't do anything, and their defense played well. But offensively, they've really struggled, and they've struggled in a number of games. Mississippi State earlier on this year. Obviously, the Alabama game, they didn't play well earlier on in the year.
I think they struggle. I think they struggle at Auburn Saturday. I think they're only
a 7-point favorite.
Yeah, I think they win, but I think it's not easy. I think they struggle.
But I also wonder too, because Auburn.
They didn't look
what is their mindset? The Iron Bowl's already been played. There's nothing really left to play for this year.
Other than to ruin.
That would be the only thing, is to ruin A&M's chances. But
am I reading this right?
But Bo Nix has got to play better.
Yeah, Bo Nix is. Yeah, he's been like what Kellen Mond was a little bit last year. as far as inconsistency. And everybody was projecting this year to be such a big year for Bo Nix, even me and you were. I just like you. I don't know what there's left to play for. I think they'll keep it close. I don't think they necessarily get blown out, although they could. I just think Texas A&M struggles.
They do.
On the road, but I do think they win.
Yeah, and it feels like one of those weird Texas A&M struggle games. But
have you seen this? No fans are allowed at Rose Bowl and Fiesta Bowl.
I did see that. I figured the Rose Bowl would be one, but I didn't know about the Fiesta Bowl.
Yeah, that's a little bit odd because that one's in Arizona, right?
Yeah, but I guess Phoenix. I mean, so I don't. The city down there in Phoenix, Glendale.
Yeah.
So, I don't know. Yeah, it's kind of sad though for a playoff game. You don't have any fans. It's going to kind of suck, but it is.
Group recommends FBS split from NCAA.
I did read that article. It's actually pretty interesting that group essentially saying that the FBS schools, all 130 of them, should break away from the NCAA and form their own league, essentially.
So the NCAA would only have, which is essentially what they only have control over right now is, they sponsor the FCS championship. They don't really sponsor. They do give the trophy's not really the NCAA, although it is recognized. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like the FBS title is more about like corporate sponsorship and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And so while they are recognized as the NCAA champions, it really wouldn't change a lot, other than the NCAA couldn't tell you what to do, at all.
Right. And that's kind of the point there. I think.
Because in a season like this, they couldn't say, well, which I think is state law anyway, depending on fans. I don't think the NCAA really has anything to do with that either, do they?
No, I don't think so. I think it's up to the conferences, up to
the
states, and things like that, up to the individual schools, really, what they want to do as well.
Right.
All right, two more games here, both top 25 matchups. We talked about this one a little bit. Penix Jr. no longer going to be able to go this year. He's out for the season now for Indiana.
Yeah, I hate that.
That's a big loss for the Hoosiers. I mean, that is their offense. Right,
he is so exciting to watch.
He is. Hope wish him all the best. Hope he gets well and can return to the field next season. Indiana, tough task. They got to go to Madison, take on Wisconsin.
I'll be interested to see what that Indiana offense looks like without Penix in there. I still think they got enough pieces. And what was the receiver and this so good for them? I can't. His name escapes. He starts with an H. But
for Indiana,
for Indiana, yeah.
Let's see. They've got Freifogel is one of the
Freifogel. That's it. Who I'm thinking about. I said H. I'm an F. But Freifogel is. They still got him. He's a big play threat. But I haven't seen much of their running game. I know they've run the ball pretty well, but it's been mostly Penix. So
you might have been thinking of Peyton Hendershot as well. The tight end.
Yeah, he's really good.
They got some weapons on as far as receivers. Ty Firefogel, Watt Fillier, Peyton Hendershot, all really good.
Yeah, Hendershot's the one. I think he's the best tight end in the country, probably. Maybe. So he and the guy at Florida are the two, I think.
Yeah, I think Kyle Pitts is probably the best.
Kyle Pitts is probably, but he's up there, I think. Yeah. But, if he can get the ball, they're going to have to look for other ways to run the ball is my point, I guess. And because Penix was so much of that, his ability to scramble and just make things happen. So I don't think they'll win, but I do think Indiana keeps it closer than a lot of people might think they would.
Yeah, I don't know. I think the loss of Penix is really going to hurt Indiana. I just don't see how they're going to be able to. I mean, maybe they can. Maybe they can surprise some people, but I just think That's going to be a tough task for
Right.
Indiana to that hurdle to get over. I'm gonna go Wisconsin at home. I would have probably picked Indiana had
If Penix had played, I would have
yeah.
picked Indiana.
Yeah.
Just for the simple fact of how they played at Ohio State.
I mean, what a great game. I mean, that
Yeah.
probably the game of the year so far. I mean, it was a great matchup.
It was a great matchup, and one that you were like,
and it could have gotten. I mean, it was getting out of hand, and Indiana scratched and clawed their way back into that game and had a chance late to try to tie it. But we're gonna agree there. Going to go with the Badgers at home. All right, John. Last one is the big showdown here in South Carolina, down at Dirty Myrtle, down in Conway on the blue turf. Excuse me, on the teal turf, I should say. Coastal Carolina hosting now instead of Liberty, BYU coming to town. Can the magic continue for the Chanticleers?
I'm going to say yes. I like what they got going on down there. I think it would speak volumes for the Sun Belt as well.
Yeah, that'd be a big win for that conference.
BYU, I just don't. I mean, I think they're really good, and I think they proved it at Boise State. I just don't know. Like, they haven't had the test that Coastal's had this year.
Yeah.
And they're at home. So that's why. And I think a cross-country trip on a spur of the moment might be to their advantage. No, it might be to Coastal's advantage. So that's why I'm going to go Chanticleers in a close one.
I really wanted to pick Coastal. And I probably will. I mean, I'm going to pull for them on
Obviously,
Saturday.
I'm pulling for the Palmetto. And my guy, Chad Staggs.
Yeah, I mean, I'm going to pull for Coastal in the game. I look at Zach Wilson and that BYU offense that has just been putting up numbers and points on people all year. And that's scary. For sure.
They are. They're very good.
And look, they beat a very good Boise State team. That game was in Boise on the blue turf, which we know how tough of a place it is to play there.
Yeah.
What is it? BYU's just going to play on all the multicolored turfs this year.
Other than Eastern Washington.
Yeah. But as much as it pains me, I do think the phenomenal season that Coastal's had, and it's not going to be over by any shot if they lose this game. They're still going to have, a Sun Belt champ. Yeah, they're going to have a Sun Belt championship to play for, a great bowl game to try to get to as well. This has been a great season for Coastal Carolina, regardless of what happens in this game. But I think the undefeated season comes to an end. I'm going BYU down in Coastal. Down in Conway.
All right, then. We'll see. And I didn't realize that was the first matchup between non-Power 5 programs that were 9-0 or better.
Really? So some history being made this Saturday.
Yes.
That's awesome.
So that's pretty cool.
I would have liked to have seen the Liberty game too, but I'm glad that game got canceled. So now BYU, I'm ecstatic that this game is being able. And what makes it interesting is
somebody is like, say even if it had been like Cincinnati or Marshall, that would have been cool too, because it would have been undefeated. This is really neat.
Well, what makes this even more interesting is the fact that these teams have had like 2 days to prepare for each other.
I know, that's what makes it so you could see like just a crazy high scoring game. And I guarantee you, Coastal Carolina, knowing Jamie Chadwell, I guarantee you that they got something up their sleeve.
Yeah, and I hope you're right. I hope I'm wrong, but I look at that BYU offense, man, and it just that's scary stuff. Zach Wilson been playing lights out this year, but
I wouldn't be shocked if Coastal
matchup
came out. I wouldn't be shocked, and don't be shocked by this. Coastal comes out and runs some option at them.
Yeah.
BYU don't see any option.
Yeah, I mean, McCall, well, he's proved it. McCall's got some legs. If they get him in the run game going, they could be hard to stop. And look, we don't really know how good this BYU defense is because, again, they haven't really played anybody.
They haven't been tested. I mean, the games that they look good against the triple option team against Navy, but then they were prepared for that offense. But like, you know, you made a great point. You got no idea what either of these teams are going to.
Yes, coaches are going to be.
And the fact that Navy didn't practice.
Yes. Chadwell and Sataki are going to be watching film for like the next 48 hours straight.
They're going to have bloodshot eyes.
By the time this game, 5:30 p.m. down and goes to College Game Day down in Conway. It's just going to be a great day overall for that program and for the state of South Carolina.
You wish it would have happened where they could have full capacity.
Oh man, could you imagine a packed out Brooks Stadium for this game?
Yeah,
it'd be great, dude.
It'd be awesome.
It would be,
and just the ambiance of the being down there in kind of a resort type area. It'd be a cool just to be in that city, you know, that weekend.
I'll be interested. You know, I don't know if any of the College Game Day guys have been down to Myrtle Beach before, so I'll be interested to see what if they talk about Myrtle Beach and what their thoughts are at all on game day.
I'll be interested. I bet the ratings are really good.
Yeah.
For this game day particularly because, it was funny because I was listening to Mickey Plyler's show this morning. He was talking about like the top. So Greenville Spartanburg's always in the top 5 for like viewership of game day. Like Birmingham, Alabama is always number 1. But I'll be shocked. I'd be interested to see like if our viewership goes up this week because really the only outside of Clemson. I mean, South Carolina maybe I don't know. Has South Carolina had game day there other than Clemson's?
I think they've gone down to Columbia one time, I think.
But other than that, like in the state, this is the only other program other than Clemson or South Carolina that has had game day.
Yeah.
Which will be really neat.
And it's a great story, to be quite honest. I mean, it's a great story just in the sport. As a whole. I mean, this is a program that was picked last in their division. And
to be such a small state, to be such a football state as we are, I think it to have another venue that said they have hosted game day in our state just says more about the football played in our state.
Yeah, and it's going to be great recruiting for that program as well. But, John, looking forward to Sunday, man. We're going to get back on Sunday evening and talk about that. It's going to be a great game. I'm looking forward to that one. Some of the other ones, the Clemson game, I'll definitely be watching that one as well. But all eyes will be on that Coastal Carolina BYU game.
And I know we'll be texting back and forth. And
absolutely.
That would be awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Sounds good, man. Well, we'll be back on Sunday here on The Spread. Thanks for listening to the Spread Podcast here on Podbean. Head on over to thespreadfootball.com and check out all of our weekly articles and catch replays of each show on the podcast page. Also, head on over to social media and follow us on Facebook at The Spread with Cameron Tarrant and on Twitter at The Spread Podcast. We'll catch you next time.